कुंज बिहारी जय
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Jai Gantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. So, Hare Krishna. Jai Shatupa Shatadev ki Jai. So we want to thank Kalcha Prabhu, Mataji and their family for having given us this opportunity to come together to hear and speak about Bhagavatam. So today we will look at first canto, chapter 17, text 18. That's a good verse for us to look at. 1:17:18. Navayam klesha bijani yata syuhu purusha vrishabha purusham tam vijanimo vakya bheda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Vrishabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya bheda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purusha vrishabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya bheda vimohitaha
Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purusha vrishabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya bheda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purusha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya bheda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purusha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya bheda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purusha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya bheda vimohitaha Vayam बीजानि
The root cause
the root
of
cause
sufferings.
of sufferings.
Yataha,
Yataha
wherefrom,
Syuhu
Syuhu, it so happens,
it so happens
Purusha Rishabha,
Purusha Rishabha,
O greatest of all living beings,
greatest of all living beings, Purusham,
the person,
Tam, that,
Vijani Maha,
no,
Vakya Veda,
Vakya Veda,
difference of opinion,
Vimohitaha, bewildered by,
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Please repeat the translation. O greatest among human beings.
O greatest among human beings,
It is very difficult
it is very difficult
to ascertain
to ascertain
the particular miscreant
the particular miscreant
who has caused
who has caused
our suffering.
our sufferings,
Because we are bewildered
we are bewildered
by all the different opinions
by all the different opinions
of theoretical philosophers.
of theoretical philosophers.
Please hear the purport. There are many theoretical philosophers in the world who put forward their own theories of cause and effect, especially about the cause of suffering and its effect on different living beings. Generally, there are 6 great philosophers. Kanada, the author of Vaisheshika philosophy, Gautama, the author of logic, Patanjali, the author of mystic yoga, Kapila, the author of Sankhya philosophy, Jaimini, the author of Karma Mimamsa, and Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Darshana. Although the bull, or the personality of religion, and the cow, the personality of the earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their suffering, still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to the Padma Puran, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. Thus, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings, thinking them to be God-given in small doses, for otherwise the sufferings should have been greater. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get a statement of accusation against the direct mischief mongers, but they declined to give it on the above mentioned grounds. Speculative philosophers, however, do not recognize the sanction of the Lord. They try to find out the cause of sufferings in their own way, as will be described in the following verses. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, such speculators are therefore bewildered, and thus they cannot know that the ultimate cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord, the personality of God. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Dhammayam Tadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Radhanam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sarkadatam Sajivam Savadaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakadana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Goveshwara Gopikakanta Radha Namostute Bhakta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari It's a very nice verse. And it's so practical for all of us, whatever field we are in. And the verse explains to us the single greatest reason why our devotional service becomes sustained. If you look at the word-to-word equivalent, Klesha Bijani, it's a very important word for us to understand. Klesha means suffering and Bij means seed. So the seed of suffering, the root cause of the suffering, we have to understand in this world. If we understand the root of a plant, we come to understand a plant. If you understand the top part of the plant, if you don't understand how much water the root needs, the plant will not grow. So root cause of suffering is very important for us to understand. Otherwise the mind will never be convinced, and the intelligence cannot convince the mind. So one word that's very important here is Klesha Bija. The other word that's really important is the word Vakya Bheda. Vakya Bheda is the reason why we all cannot get along. Because we all have different opinions. And that is why Kali is growing. And that is why we are always challenged. Because we place a lot of weight on our own opinions without giving real weight to the opinion of the Shastras. Our opinions are more important than the opinions of our spiritual masters and our acharyas. And that is the reason why we become bewildered. So the word bewildered is also very important. Vimohitaha. This is very important. Vimohan. The real reason why we are in difficulty is because we are bewildered. When we become bewildered by the nature of this world, it's very difficult for us to live with it. Very difficult. But if we understand that the nature of this world is to cause us sufferings, then we will not find other people and put the cause of suffering on them. But we will understand that it is coming from the nature of the world in which we live. Samsara dharme avimuyamana. Bhagavatam tells us that the dharma of the samsara makes us very bewildered. The cycle of birth and death in the material world, it actually makes us bewildered. But we don't understand, it is the nature of the world, it's the dharma. We all have different dharmas. Some of us are mothers, wives, fathers, husbands, children. When we go to work, we have a different dharma. So this world also has its own dharma. And the dharma of the world is given by the Lord. And is created because of the uncontrollable desires of the living entities. So even the creation of this material world we can't put on Krishna's head. The creation of the material world has come largely because of our uncontrolled desire to be independent of Krishna. So that is the reason why we are in Vimohitaha. So this Vakya Veda is a very difficult challenge for devotees to cross. Because as long as our personal opinions eclipse the opinions of the acharyas, we will always be bewildered. If we do not allow our personal opinions to contradict that of the acharyas and the shastras, guru, sadhu, and shastras, then this Vakya Veda will not touch us. This is the point of the word-to-word that we have to understand. Now if you look at the translation, Prabhupada has nicely translated, and the personality of religion, the bull, he's speaking, and he's speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. When Maharaj Parikshit was travelling around the world and looking around to see how the subjects are doing, how the world is going on, under a tree in one part of his kingdom, he saw a very strange and terrifying sight. He saw a cow and a bull being mercilessly beaten by what looked like a king. And the bull, Bhagavatam tells us, was actually in so much difficulty that it was terrified. It was standing on, I think it was on one leg. The bull was on one leg. It was terrified. And Bhagavatam tells us it was actually urinating. You know, when animals sometimes become terrified, they urinate. So the bull was in such terrified position that it was in an embarrassing position actually. And the cow had tears in her eyes. And she was also in great pain. So the cow and the bull were lamenting. And the cow and the bull are considered most sacred in Vedic culture. If they are lamenting, then how serious must be the problem of the society? So Parikshit Maharaj gets down from his chariot and immediately he is ready to punish this personality who appears to look noble, but by behavior he is not noble. And Prabhupada writes in the verse and the purports after this, that this is another symptom of Kali Yuga. That externally, we look devotional and we look noble. But the real measure of our character is in our internal behavior. And that internal consciousness will exhibit in how we behave, not what we wear. That's very important. So, when the bull and the cow were actually given some temporary relief from the beating they were getting from Hari, who was in the guise of a king, Parikshit Maharaj then turned to them and he asked, who is the person who has done this to you? Bhagavatam tells us that it is tradition that if a king were to help his subjects, he needs some kind of a formal complaint. That's why he wanted to formalize. There must be some witness to say, he's the one. He's the one. So Parikshit Maharaj asked the personality of the cow and the bull, tell me now who it is. In the verse before that, he has already asked. And the bull says here, just before this, he says now that the words spoken by you befit a person of Pandava dynasty, captivated by the devotional service of the Pandavas. Even Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, performed duties as a messenger. The bull did not immediately tell Parikshit Maharaj, I am in trouble. In fact, the first thing that came out from him was glorification of a devotee. He glorified the devotee. This is very important for us to improve our devotional service. Otherwise, what happens is immediately when we meet advanced devotees, we are in the habit, of immediately filing the complaints. When we all used to meet Guru Maharaj, very often when we met him, it was just to unload. Very often we would unload. And after all the unloading, then we will talk about Bhagavatam. But the bull here doesn't talk about any complaints. He starts by glorifying Parikshit Maharaj. And that should be the mood of the devotee. No matter how many differences of opinions we have, our culture is that we see good in everyone and we glorify. The moment a devotee of the Lord is glorified, you can be assured by the standings of Bhagavatam that Krishna's blessing is upon us. Krishna will give us peace when we glorify the devotee. When we glorify ourselves, then we become disturbed. And when we file complaints without glorification of devotees, then we become more disturbed, more beautiful. This is very important. When Vasudev and Nanda Maharaj met at Kurukshetra after a long time, they didn't ask each other, how are you, how are you? I think yesterday we were discussing in Lilamrita, Tamal Krishna Maharaj and a few devotees would sometimes ask Prabhupada, how are you? And after a while, Prabhupada got tired of this, how are you conversation. He makes a statement, isn't it? To say that we should get past the how are you statements. Because how are you doesn't help us. If you ask someone, how are you? I think he will tell you, I'm not good. Nobody can be happy in this material world. So why to ask the question, how are you? And if someone says, I'm good, that's also a lie. Because it's not the truth. No one can be good here. I was saying yesterday, Maharaj, after 2 years of marriage, Maharaj asked me, how's your marriage? I said, it's good, Maharaj. Maharaj said, don't lie. He said, good and marriage cannot go together. So what are you saying if the marriage is good? Like that, we should stop the frivolous conversations. Vasudev and Nanda Maharaj asked each other, how is your devotional service? How is your remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And that is what we should do whenever we come together. When we do that, this Vakya Veda, differences of opinions, they will go. We will see more similarities between each other than there are differences. That way, all the relationships between the devotees, they become mature. Not they become better, but they become mature. There's a difference. There is a difference. So this is a very important point. The bull starts by glorifying. And after glorifying now, this is the verse we are looking at. He says to Parikshit Maharaj, Maharaj, it's very difficult now for me to ascertain the particular person who has caused the sufferings. Now this is obviously very surprising for us, because it's not that the bull was blind, it's not that the bull couldn't see in the dark, it's not that this was a hit and run case, I hit and run. It was prolonged suffering and beating. Hit and run people, when they go, you can't get the license very fast, isn't it? But this is staying on and beating you over and over again. So it was very clear to the bull just who was the perpetrator of this terrible offense. But when asked by Parikshit Maharaj, the bull, the personality of religion, says that actually it's very hard to say who is the cause of my suffering. And this same thing we should ask ourselves whenever we feel beaten up in this world. If someone beats us in the world, not really physically beating, but if someone inflicts pain on us in the world, the first thing we should remember is the great bull. And we should ask ourselves, yes, he's giving me some beating, but actually who is the cause of this suffering? I am not really sure. It's a good start. Bhagavatam says we must follow Bhagavatam, isn't it? So we should quickly ask this question the same way the bull asked. Same way the bull asked. When Maharaj took this verse, he gave us example in the room. He says, supposing I slapped Vaishnaseva, and then I asked, who slapped you? Vaishnaseva should say, I'm not sure. I said, that's what Vaishnaseva should say. Actually, Vaishnaseva was not in the room. Maharaj used him as an example. He said, that's what he should say. If he says, Maharaj slapped me, then actually he's wrong. Because then, he will become agitated. To free himself from the agitation, he should immediately instruct his mind that yes, Maharaj slapped me, but the cause of why I got slapped is not Maharaj. That I should think about. And that is the way to start our devotional service. Because no one will be free of this suffering. And no one will be free of blaming who is causing the suffering. They're all going to be facing it. Always. Always. If we are 5 minutes late for Mangalarati, you can blame many things. You can blame the car, you can blame the direction, you can blame the driver, you can blame many things. But ultimately, will these blames help us remember Krishna? That's the key. By all this, are we remembering Krishna? If our life is supposed to be about remembering Krishna, and we conduct an activity that doesn't make us remember Krishna, that activity will react with different names, forms and results to ultimately agitate the mind. What's that verse? Tato anyata kinchana yadvivekshataha ritadishashtat ritarupanamabhihi na karhichit kwapicha dushtita matihi na vedavata na dhattima ivaskara nahu ivaskara. This is the verse that's very important for us. Vyas Bhagwan is actually advised by Narada Muni that please Vyas Bhagwan, you are Vyasadeva and you are not different from Krishna, and yet you are disturbed, and yet you are not satisfied. You have had so much association with all the Vedic literature, but something is missing. Because with all the knowledge you have missed one component of devotional service. You have not broadcast the glories of the Supreme Lord. We have not glorified Krishna enough. Glorifying Krishna, Maharaj said, means glorifying his devotees. You cannot take one track of criticizing his devotees and glorifying Krishna. Krishna doesn't accept your glorification. He doesn't accept it. Maharaj made it very clear to us. He doesn't accept it. And if you glorify a devotee, then you are saved. Remember yesterday we discussed how this Mayadanava fell at the feet of Arjuna when the forest fire came. Krishna was next to him. And Arjuna became embarrassed and said, please go to Krishna and bow, not to me, you got the wrong person. So Krishna said, no, he got the right person. I like very much his bowing before my devotee. And because of that, Mayadanava was saved. Later, when Lord Shiva as Tripurari destroyed all the 3 cities, he was given the benediction to survive. And later he was given the opportunity to construct a palatial building for the Pandavas. All because he glorified a devotee. So it's very clear from Bhagavatam that if you want Krishna, it's a package deal. It's a package deal. You can't say, I only want Krishna, no devotees. Krishna will say, sorry, my dealings are, if you take me, the package is like this. The devotees come with me, all the paraphernalia is with me, and that way it is total. That is why the bull is highly intelligent. The answer he gives here is highly intelligent answer. It is not Vedasaha. Bhagavatam tells us there is Su Vedasaha. Su means there is transcendence in his answer. It's very important. So the bull is now saying that the cause of suffering is not actually this personality of God. And Bhagavatam tells us that actually. Maharaj liked this one verse in 11.7.27. In 11.7.27, very nicely it is stated that the Avadut learned the first lesson, his first guru was Mother Earth. And from Mother Earth he learned one value. He learned this point. Bhutai akramya mano api. Bhutai, that means this earth. Akramya mano api. In this material existence. Akramya mano means harassment. We'll always be harassed. You cannot escape the harassment in this material world. And very often the material world harasses you through the agency of other personalities. So Bhagavatam tells us, Bhutai akramya mano api, Diro, Daivo, Vasa andahi, Tadvidva nachare mardar, Anvasiksham shite mutam. It's a very important verse. The translation is, from the Mother Earth, I have learned one very important thing. That all the living entities in this material world are invariably affected by the material modes of nature. They are harassed by material modes themselves. Most often we are harassed by the health. This health is a very difficult thing. When the body breaks down because of the bones, it's very, very difficult. Very difficult. When I see how Kalchakra Prabhu has been in so much trouble, very often me and Vaishnava Seva Prabhu, we pray very hard to Maharaj because there's so much difficulty for him. But despite the difficulties, the important thing that he's doing is that na chale marga. He's not deviating from the path of the devotional service. He just told me that he's doing nice programs with the children. He's doing nice Bhagavatam discussions. Anyone who is a materialist in this world, they will just sit down and they will moan and groan. They will blame the world, they will blame their wives, they will blame their husbands, they will blame the doctors. They will blame after a while Krishna. I took initiation, I surrendered to pure devotee, and with all my difficulties I surrendered, but now there is no reward, I'm not getting anything. It's very easy for us to say these things. Because whenever we come to devotional service, we think that the moment we take up devotional service, there must be a good wife. When we take up devotional service, the husband must become like from Vaikuntha. Our children, they will be so good in their studies. They will get the best jobs in the world. We think we will have very nice house. Krishna will give us many more properties. We think when we take up devotional service, our health will be super. Everything will be alright. But when we take it up, then only the real package unfolds. And we realize everything has become topsy-turvy. Suddenly, our family sometimes is not as good as it should be. Sometimes we take it up, but we are not as good as we should be. And like that, so many problems there. The bull is non-different from the personality of religion. He's actually Yamaraj. and he was beaten till he urinated. He could have blamed Krishna easily. He could have blamed Parikshit Maharaj for not doing a good job taking care of the kingdom. Right? He could have said, what kind of pure devotee you are? Can't even stop someone from beating me. He could have said that. But he said no. I'm not sure who has actually caused me suffering. Because Bhutai Akamya Mano Api. Bhagavatam tells us that a devotee should understand that all living entities are ultimately harassed by the material modes of nature. So if they harass us, it's not their fault. Because they are helplessly speaking things that hurt us. They are helplessly saying things they don't mean. Driven by the modes of nature, they become bewildered, vimohitaha. And because they are not fixed with Krishna, they have always this differences of opinions. And where there is differences of opinions, there will be differences of ideas. And there will be fights, there will be quarrels. But if we understand this is because the atmosphere of Kali is the cause, then the devotees do not become bewildered. Tad Vidwan, with higher knowledge and practical application of Bhagavatam, na chale marga, the man, their path to devotional service is not disturbed. This is how devotees should be. We should be determined never to leave the path of devotional service, never to become discouraged, never to become disturbed, no matter how much disturbance there is. Why? This is the second part of the verse that's important. All this can only be attained when we ask the question that the bull asked. Namely, that we say that no one is actually the cause of our suffering. This is very important. If you do not make this statement, you will always suffer. Your chanting will suffer. Mangalarti is a dream. And sitting down with devotees become painful. Because we are putting others as the reason for our suffering. That is why very nicely, in 11th canto, it is so nicely stated. Nayam janome sukadukha heto na devatadma graha karma kala. What is that? Mana param karanamamananti samsara chakram parivartateya. This is very important verse. Actually, many years ago when Kalchakapur came to Singapore, I don't remember in Virama Kaliman temple, he took this verse. And it's an important verse for us to remember. Guru Maharaj liked this verse very much. Because he said this tells us that actually people are not the cause of my happiness and distress. This is a statement of the Avanti Brahmana, isn't it, Prabhu? Is it Avanti Brahmana?
Yes.
Yeah, this is part of his song.
Yeah.
The Avanti Brahmana, you must understand a bit of background to appreciate the verse. The Avanti Brahmana actually was doing very well in life. And all of a sudden, by the forces of nature and time, he lost everything. He became very discouraged, very disillusioned. But finally, after becoming disillusioned, somehow by Krishna's grace, by the power of transcendental knowledge, he came to ask himself, what is the cause of my distress? This is how, by submissive self-inquiry, Bhagavatam becomes accessible to us. By submissive self-inquiry, Bhagavatam becomes accessible to us. Very important. Not inquiry about others. Why he's like that? Why she's like that? That is gossip. Self-inquiry means, why am I like that? Why am I behaving this way? Why am I in trouble? Forget your neighbor. Our garden is not in order. Our plants are not growing properly. But we are very quick to say, hey, look at this plant. It's not good. Remember the example that Govinda Maharaj gives? There was the needle and there was the sieve. Needle has one hole, isn't it? The sieve has so many holes. The sieve looked at the needle and said, hey needle, how come you have a hole at the back? The sieve has more holes than the needle has. But the sieve is asking the needle, how come you have a hole in your back? The needle could easily turn and say, look at your own back. You have many, many more holes. But this is how we are. We are very quick to look at something. We are very quick to criticize. But here the Avanti Brahmana says, what is the cause of my suffering? He says, people are not the source of my happiness or distress. They are not. This is a very important point. Nobody is the reason why you become happy, and nobody is the reason why you become distressed. They are instruments. They are instruments. Yantra arudhani. They are vehicles. Nothing more. Second point he states, neither are the demigods the source of my happiness or distress. Frankly speaking, the devatas may hold some departmental influence over your body, but now we can't say, isn't it, C3 and C4 because of this devata, L4, L5 because of that devata. We're not going to say that. We don't. Because the devatas, they have only a little bit of influence, not so much. Then Avanti Brahmana says, my own body is not the source of my happiness or distress. This is more difficult for us. We say the reason for our difficulty is our body, isn't it? But he says no. Body is not the source of problems. Body is a vehicle. That's all. It's just a vehicle. If the car doesn't ride properly, why do you blame the car? That's what he's saying. Then he says, don't blame the grahas. Don't blame the planets. Very often, we think, oh, my time is not good. I remember our dear godbrother from Kerala. Never listen to Maharaj's instructions. One day we asked him, why you are not listening to Maharaj's instructions? He said, I went to the astrologer and he told me, your time is not right. And because your time is not right, because of the force of that influence, whatever your spiritual master tells you, you will not hear. It's because of your graha. It's nothing to do with you. It's the graha. It's not good time. Some people tell me, I can't chant now. Why? Because, Sani dosha is there. And Sani is more powerful than the holy name, so I can't chant. One person told me, I cannot wake up for Mangalarti until about 7.5 years after the whole dosha finishes. When Guru comes, he'll be very auspicious, then it's Mangal. Mangal means Mangalarti. So that's when he will come. I remember Kalchakra Prabhu saying in the class, we put all these stones on our small stones we put on the ring, and we say this stone will change my time, it will change my fortune. It's a small stone, That planet, the graha is very big. That's what he said. Do you really think that this stone is going to affect the graha and then it's going to affect you? It's not going to happen. It's not going to. So grahas, you don't blame them. Then the Avanti Brahmana says, you can't blame my past work. And you can't blame time even. My past work, why to blame? Who started that work? I started the work. So how can you blame the past work? Past was done by the living entity. Why to blame the past? You can't blame the past. Past is finished. Sometimes we live in the past, Maharaj said. We are like ghosts, Right? What is that? Bhoot bangla. Our bangla becomes bhoot, haunted. That's how we are. We live in the past. Once upon a time I was this, I was that, I was this. Or once upon a time he did this to me. Or that person did that to me. How to live that way? We will never be able to remember Krishna. We can't. That's the reason why we can't remember our past life. Imagine if we, in this life already, our past is enough, isn't it? Imagine our past life and then the life before. Just imagine. We'll go mad. So, past work is not going to be the source of our suffering, nor our happiness. And last, even the influence of time, Bhagavatam says, is not the reason for happiness or distress. Because time is actually a friend of the devotee. And time is coming from Krishna. Rather, the Avanti Brahmana says, there is only one reason for happiness or distress. Mano. It is your mind. It is my mind alone that causes distress. And my mind perpetuates the cycle of birth and death. It is the nature of this mind. Yesterday we spoke on Bharat Maharaj. The nature of the mind is so powerful. Even a great devotee like Bharat Maharaj, the mind gave him the favorable arguments why he should serve the deer and he should forget Krishna. The mind gave Arjuna very, very favorable arguments at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita why he should not fight. So this mind is a real problem, and that is the thing we should understand. So the personality of religion and Shastras are very clear. They say that you cannot blame anything or anyone. You can only blame this mind. And having understood that the mind is the problem, now we should understand the purport. Prabhupada writes in the purport that without the sanction of Krishna, nothing in this world can inflict punishment or reward on us. This is the point we should understand. When we suffer, we should understand, first, don't blame anyone. Blame how the mind is translating the suffering. And after understanding that, become free of it. Now understand who has caused the suffering. The causation factor, the root of everything, is that Krishna has sanctioned your suffering. Krishna has allowed it. He's put a rubber stamp on your passport and say, okay, now get this fellow to suffer. He is allowed it. He let it go through his gate. If Krishna allows that we should suffer, are we going to fight with Krishna? Do we really dare to fight with Krishna? This is the point we should ask ourselves. If Krishna has allowed that we should be put in Vimoh Vitaha, then should we be blaming the person who appears to be the immediate cause? We should not. That's why Maharaj said, instead of blaming others, at the very least, you go and sit with Krishna. You fight with Krishna. That's better. Because fighting with Krishna is always a one-way street. Maharaj says a one-way street. And on top of one-way street is a T-junction. T-junction means at the end of it, right, the only thing you hit is a wall. And after hitting a wall, you come to your senses. Isn't it? Sometimes we need a good knock on the head to understand, hey, now I know what's happening. But if you fight with someone who is the immediate cause, it's always a two-way traffic. And that also marks on a 5-track road. Why? Because we have all kinds of Veda. One person can have 5 different opinions, you have 5 different opinions, that's how you get a 5-track highway. Both ways, this way and that way. And there's no end to the fight. And amidst all the fighting and all the talking, Krishna is forgotten. And finally, when death comes, the only person who comes is Yamaraj. And he's not coming because he's personality a bull. He's not coming because he wants to sit down in Naimisharanya and discuss Bhagavatam with you. At that point, when he comes with Yamadutas, it means you are more or less finished. Right? It means you are finished. Because you have forgotten Krishna all your life. Do we want to waste whatever little time we have? That's the question. The bull did not waste time. Parikshit Maharaj told him, you file your complaint at the nearest police neighborhood. I'll pick up the complaint, then we'll arrest him. That's the way it is. Now file it. And he said, I'm not sure who. And Parikshit Maharaj was thinking, what's wrong with this bull? He can't see anything. But Prabhupada writes here very nicely, and it is worth reading. He says there are many theoretical philosophers of the world who put forward their own theories of cause and effect. This is the first thing. Do we want to become theoretical philosophers while wearing dhoti, kurta and tilak? If we say we have surrendered to our spiritual master and the process, why are we becoming philosophers? And why are we having different theories? Why are we speculating? Again, because of the mind. That's why the Nayam Jano verse is correct. Speculation is a function of the mind. Theory is a function of the mind. Theory has no place in Vedanta Sutra. Sutra means it's an aphorism. It's a sastric injunction. There is no place for theory. So Prabhupada writes here that the moment there is these theoretical philosophers, they will put forward their own theories. Now Prabhupada says there are 6 great philosophers, and we all know the great systems of schools are there. But every system has its own theory of cause and effect. And Vyas Bhagwan is put there also. Because before this, Vyas Bhagwan actually was dissatisfied. And it proves this important point, that as long as you go through these 6 different schools of philosophy, you will always be theoretical. And you will always be speculating what is the cause. Until Narada Muni told Vyas Bhagwan, you please write Bhagavatam, then all theories go. That's why we must come to Bhagavatam. That is the reason why Prabhupada spent his life giving us Bhagavatam. Dharma projita kaitava atra paramo. If you reject any system of religion which has fruitive intention means philosophy, theory, speculation, concoction. All these are in 6 systems, but they are not in Bhagavata Dharma. Please always remember this. They are not in Bhagavata Dharma. So if we want to really understand Bhagavata, if we want to sit before the class, please qualify ourselves to sit before Bhagavata. We must qualify ourselves to receive Bhagavata. Any college you join, they will never say, oh, you're a human being, come and join the college. They will want to check, what is your qualification, isn't it? You want a job, actually they will ask you, what's your qualification? If you want to come to Bhagavatam, you must become qualified. Otherwise Bhagavatam eludes us. We chant, we read so much Bhagavatam, but then why when we are distressed, we are not peaceful? Why when we are distressed, we don't increase the devotional service? Why? That's the question. That means there is a disconnect between understanding what Bhagavata Dharma is and mixing it with other philosophies and theories. This is our Vaishnava Siddhanta. We should never forget that this is the foundation of why we come to Bhagavatam. That's why Bhagavatam should never be about any other motive except to glorify Krishna. The moment any other motive is there, you sit here, the result of it is that you will become vimohitaha. You will become vimohitaha. So look at the purport now. Prabhupada says, although the bull or the personality of religion and the cow, the personality of earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their suffering, still as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. Just this statement will give us peace. We should just say, Krishna wants. Therefore I have to accept. In acceptance, there is peace. In expectations, there is disturbance. This we should do. And here he says very nicely, Prabhupada writes, according to Padma Puran, our present trouble, now Prabhupada is telling us why we are in trouble. Now he is giving us the naked truth. Sometimes when we come to devotional service, we say, nothing touches us now because we are with devotees. But now he is saying, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. In the 6th canto, 1st chapter, very nicely, Shukadeva Goswami discusses how the root of sin comes. The root of sin only comes because of one reason, Prabhu said, that we desire something separate from Krishna. That's all. There's nothing else. If we run after a desire that cannot be obtained, that desire is sinful. Please remember this statement. It's in 6:16:34. Desires which cannot be obtained are considered lustful desires. Lustful desires are desires that cannot be obtained. If you try very hard to obtain something and you become frustrated, please know that what you are trying to obtain is lusty. It has nothing to do with Bhakti. Nothing. Then we should stop. Because the pursuit of this desire will result in seeds of sin. The seeds will not come now in this life. But slowly as all seeds grow, they will come maybe in the next life. By the time your next life comes, you'll be wondering why I'm suffering. But you forget in your past life, these seeds were sown. And because you don't realize that this life is meant for Krishna, you will commit more sins because of more unwarranted desires. And by the time your next life comes, more seeds have grown. And by the time your next life comes, you'll be wondering why I'm suffering again. And that's because you created more seeds. Mars gave a good example. In previous life, maybe you had a wife whom you didn't think was up to the mark. So you created desires in your heart how my wife should be. But of course you can't get remarried again, so you have to live with your wife. But your desire has created another body for you to have another wife based on your desire. Now by the time you come to your second life, your desire has become fructified and a new wife is there ready for you. But by the time you died in your previous life, you got tired of your initial criteria and your criteria has changed. Now I want some other kind of wife. So Haridas Thakur was lying down and he was looking a bit morose. So he said, Haridas Thakur, what's wrong with you? You're not well? He says, yes, I'm not well. He says, why? I've not completed my rounds. Haridas Thakur hasn't completed his rounds. Now Gopinath leaves and tells Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu comes back. He says, Haridas Thakur, you have some disease? He said, yes, I have disease. What is the disease? He said, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what is my disease. He said, is there some symptom to it? He said, I can ascertain the cause of my disease. The disease is because I'm not able to complete my rounds. That is his disease. Namacharya saying that he is in disease condition because he can't complete his rounds. Why? Because he said, every time I chant my rounds, I'm not able to fully remember the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, I have not completed my rounds. And for us, fish. And that is a round. When Kamal Krishna Maharaj came to Singapore, first time I met him, 1982. First time I saw him. First thing I remember he saying is, he asked a devotee, have you chanted 16 rounds? He said yes. He said, in each of your round, did you remember Krishna from start of the mala to the end? He said yes. He said, then you cannot count that as one round. The round where you remember Krishna from start to end, that is one round. So now have you completed your rounds? He said, that's why Haridas Thakur said, he has not completed his rounds. Because he is an example of how we should be vigilant about our chanting. That we should not become satisfied. When you say satisfied, I'm very satisfied with my rounds. I'm very happy. The satisfaction is in acceptance of the sanction of the Lord. That's why the bull was very peaceful. Never lodged complaint. Yeah, beating was there, urinating was there. But Krishna wants. I have to accept. I have to accept. The second thing we should never be satisfied with, what is that? Swadhyaya. How do we define Swadhyaya?
Self-study.
Sorry?
Self-study.
Self-study. We should never be satisfied that we have studied enough today. We should always study deeply our scriptures. And we should not worry about others. You have studied. Why you have not studied? Forget others. Self-study means who studied this? We bury our heads in Bhagavad. And what's the third thing we should always be satisfied with?
Dharma. Charity.
Never be satisfied with giving for the purpose and the cause of glorification of Krishna. Very important. Otherwise, Maharaj said, this is the part that catches all of us. Because giving always means money. And we are all devotees until it comes to the pocket, isn't it? When something has to come out from the pocket, not handkerchief, but money, then suddenly everything changes. Everything changes. That's why Raghunath Maharaj said, Krishna is not interested in how much you're giving. He's interested in how much you're keeping in that pocket. That's what he's interested in. Giving, everyone gives. And according to proportion, it looks very big. But only the good Lord knows what you're keeping back. That is very important. So this is the way in which we understand the sanction of the Lord. Satisfaction. And this is the mood of the bull. The bull accepted that I'm suffering because of my previous sins. A devotee accepts that. What is that verse? 10:48. Tate dukampa sushami shamano gunjanaevatmavitam viparam ridvakapurvi vidaran namaste jive dayam vipadesaya. Very important verse. Krishna, the devotee's mood here is so important. Because he says there so nicely that a devotee earnestly continues to pray to Krishna. If you read the translation is so nice because it says, one who is earnestly praying to Krishna. The word is earnest. We should always be earnest to pray to Krishna that whatever happens, we understand that whatever is coming to us is the causeless mercy of Krishna. A devotee accepts that whatever that's happening is because of my previous misdeeds. This is why Prabhupada writes in the purport about the seedling of the sin. A devotee accepts that I am suffering because of my own sin. And now the sin is coming back to me through this person, through that person, through this statement, through that statement, through this disease, through that disease, through this pain, through that pain. That is all coming because of my previous misdeeds. So no blaming. No blaming means saving time. Saving time means what does the devotee do? So with all his heart, with all his mind, with all his words, he just plunges into devotional service. And patiently he awaits all his suffering. But he never loses his earnestness. Earnestness means eagerness. And that is the first qualification to advance in devotional service. Are we eager to do devotional service? If we are discouraged to do devotional service, something is wrong with our devotional service. There must be the element of eagerness. That eagerness will translate into laulyam. Laulyam means greedy. We should not be greedy for other things. I mean, if you're greedy for prasadam, that's okay. But you should not be greedy for material activities. Rather, we should be greedy to come together to hear more. You're all greedy today. It's a weekday. You should be going to work. But because you want Bhagavatam, you are eager. And because you are eager, Krishna has facilitated and sanctioned that you can sit here to hear Bhagavatam. Otherwise, he won't allow us to sit and hear Bhagavatam. That is also his sanction, isn't it? Can we really be here without the sanction of the Lord? We can't. So if we can accept the good sanctions, why we can't accept the bad sanctions? Why? We accept Krishna allows us to hear Bhagavatam, but we don't accept Krishna allows some beating on our head. Beating is also important. Sometimes a child needs a bit of a slap, isn't it? Sometimes a child needs a bit of discipline also, isn't it? Are we perfect? We are not. Why don't we accept the sanction of Krishna? If you accept sanction of Krishna, Maharaj said, you know what the sanction becomes? It becomes blessings. That's how sanctions become blessings. This is the deep realization of Sashtra. When one accepts sanctions, they are no longer sanctions. They become blessings. Then we become peaceful in our Bhagavatam. That's a blessing. It's a blessing. This is how a devotee converts a sanction into blessing. It is a science. The platform is eagerly awaiting to do devotional service. Shranavatam swapita Krishnaha punya shravana kirtana. Then vidunoti suvatsata. For one who eagerly wants to hear the message of Krishna. Shranavatam is not hearing. Prabhupada doesn't translate Shranavatam as hearing. He says for one who eagerly wants to hear. There's a difference. Shranavatam is just hearing, okay, I'm sitting here. Are you eager? If one who eagerly wants to hear Krishna, then what happens? Then Krishna himself cleanses the heart of the desire and material contamination. And in doing so, Krishna is the benefactor and protector of the devotee who is truthful. Why the word truthful? Maharaj liked the word truthful. Truthful, Maharaj said, is we must accept and be honest about our own failings. Instead of blaming others, better accept our own failings. When you accept your own feelings, your relationships become very good with everyone. You realize that? You'll never be disturbed. Okay, fine, he wants to blame me, let him blame me. But I will show him how much I care for him. I will show him how much I want to serve him. One time there was a god brother of yours, Mataji, who gave me related an incident, Now Sriram Gopal, this god brother, he is a bit of a Kshatriya. Meaning if he doesn't like something, he will tell you on your face, straight off. Half the devotees in my congregation become frightened. Every week someone will complain. Sriram Gopal Prabhu said this, he said that, he said this. So one day I said with him and I said, Prabhu, when you were in Pune, how did you work with people? What happened? And he said, Guru Maharaj gave me a very nice way to handle people who get frightened with me. I said, how? He said, the moment someone got frightened with me, I would serve them more. And that's what he did with all the people I told him you frightened. He went to serve them more. He said, I used to stay in the base, and there was one devotee I could never get along with. He couldn't stand me, I couldn't stand him. And we just had difficulty. Very small place. And two people can't stand each other. That's the worst thing. At least in a house that is big, you don't like each other, you have rooms. At least your bathrooms are different, things are there. But in a small place, you have to see each other, sleep next to each other. So he went to see Radhanath Maharaj. Maharaj was very silent, kept quiet. Then he told him, you should serve him more. And then you two will become best of friends. So Prabhu was thinking, this is just against everything. You go and serve an enemy, the enemy will kill you. Maharaj said, no, he become your friend. So what he did was, in the morning when the devotee took bath, when he came out, he made herbal tea for him. Because he knew he likes herbal tea. He made herbal tea and left it there. The devotee came out, changed, then he saw herbal tea. So he asked the boys, who made herbal tea? And Sri Ram Gopal Prabhu said, I made the herbal tea. And immediately, a little bit of his heart melted. Because he thought, how come today he's so different? Then he thought to himself, maybe he wants to, just, do this to do something. But Sri Ram Gopal every day made herbal tea. After 5 days, they became very good friends. And after that also he continued to make herbal tea. Why? Because the motive was not anything wrong. The motive was to sincerely hear the instructions of his spiritual master. Shastras. If Shastras tell us that we should cooperate with each other, tolerate each other, and understand that that is how the bull and the cow become peaceful. If we don't accept it, we will be the disturbed people. After this, the bull and the cow became very peaceful. They discussed Bhagavatam. While being beaten, they were remembering Krishna. They were not thinking, what to do now. They just remembered Krishna. So when you are in difficulty, please chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in that way, you become peaceful. Prabhupada uses one last word that we can use before we conclude. The word he uses is mischief monger. Mischief. When you say someone is mischievous, it's not so serious a crime, isn't it? Sometimes people are mischievous by nature. Have you noticed how some people, just cannot make your life peaceful? Have you noticed? You come across such people. Whatever happens, they have to create some mischief and you must have some problem. So, Prabhupada uses the word mischief, Maharaj told me, to indicate that the level of seriousness we should not take too much. When something is a problem, the mind always escalates the seriousness to death level. You're going to die. He did this, therefore everything is over. Mind's nature is always to exaggerate. That's the quality of the mind, isn't it? Have you noticed? Mind always exaggerates. Prabhu is looking very serious. He's not smiling at me. Then you think of the worst possible thing. Why? Because he's angry with me. But actually nothing is there. So mind always exaggerates all the wrong things. That's why we should attribute difficulties given to us as mischief of material nature. It's very easy. M is mischief, material nature is M also. Just think that material nature is mischievous. When our children are mischievous, do we take it very seriously? We don't. Because we say they are children. In that way, when the difficulties come, these difficulties, Maharaj say, are the children of material nature. Durga Mata gives birth to them. They are childish in their behavior. Now, how much childish you want to become to react to them? Do we really want to become childish? When a dog bites a man, does the man go and bite the dog? Highly unusual case, isn't it? Have you heard of any report where the man, a dog bit the man caught the dog and bit it and bit it? It never happens. Otherwise, where's the difference between the dog and the man? We don't know. That's why, the moment we say, it's nothing, don't magnify the problem. Make it into a mischief level. Then, like the bull and the cow, when they were confronted, tell me, who is it? Report. They said, actually, it's nothing. You know why? Krishna is the one who allowed it. So why to blame Kali? Instead of blaming him, let's spend time remembering Krishna. By remembering Krishna, all the mischief will become very small. And we will grow. In any case, if Kali doesn't beat us, somebody else will beat us. Isn't it true? Either he will beat you or somebody else will. Somebody will beat us. It's just a question of which yantra Maya Devi is going to use. That's all. And sometimes there's a change in the weapon. That's also there. Sometimes belt, sometimes cane, sometimes stick. Depending on the severity of our own karmas. Again, not dependent on anyone else. That is how the bull and the cow, they survive the beating. And that is how you and I must survive the beatings of this material world. Always remember, the glorification of the Lord is the only lesson in this age. There is no other way. Nivritta tarshe upagiyamana bhavav shirasho virama uttama shloka and 1:4 Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the standing verse for all of us. Shukadev Goswami, he is our Acharya, and he says glorification of the Supreme Lord must be done. Must be done. And it must only be done in Parampara. Parampara. That means, what will please our Parampara? Will it please our Parampara to behave like the bull and the cow? Or will it please our Parampara to behave like Kali? That's the question we have to ask. The answer I don't even have to tell you. The only thing you have to do with the answer is whether you want to put an opinion on the answer and make it into, well, it could be A, B, C, D, or you want to stop the speculation and the concoctions and the differences of opinion and just accept Shastra for what it is. That's all. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam is. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Srila Gurudev ki. Thy Gaura Prabhu. Are there any questions, realizations, comments, violent objections? Yes, ma'am. Are you in the category of violent objection? Or yes, Prabhu.
Actually, my ignorance, I just want to ask Prabhu.
Please, we are all in ignorance, so it's good to ask.
You said everything is the sanction of Krishna only. In that case, how we can use our free will?
Very nice point. If everything requires the sanction of Krishna, how do we use our free will? I'll give you a very simple example. I want to come to India. I'm coming from Singapore. I have my passport and I have my PIO, which is now an OCI, by the way. So what happens now is that I need to come into the country. The desire to come into the country is my own problem. Krishna doesn't dictate on that. I want to come into India. Or whether I get into India or not depends on immigration authority. If they put that chalk there, visa on arrival, and sanction is there, then I can come into the country and again I can do whatever I want in India. But I can only do what I want in India if I get that stamp. But after getting the stamp, when I enter into India and I decide to bomb this house and that house, then I can't go to the court when I'm caught and say, well, you sanctioned me. I came into India, I can do whatever I want. You can do whatever you want. But if you do something which is against the laws of the country, you must be prepared to accept the suffering. That is your free will. But if you come here and do nice preaching, obviously nobody is going to call you up to the court. And you will benefit. Again based on your free will. So you see the interplay. The free will is always there. But the free will can only operate when you get through that sanction, that immigration authority. So when Krishna gives you sanction to do something, he's telling you that you may be very capable. But if I did not give you the sanction to breathe, you cannot even perform anything. That is his sanction. But after giving sanction, Prabhu, what you want to do is entirely different. Is that clearer?
Yeah, means Krishna will never interfere in our free will.
Krishna doesn't interfere in free will. That's why it's free.
Because he only gives it.
He has given you the benediction of free will. Now you're free to do. Like a leader, a leader has 10 Namhat centers and 10 presidents of the Namhat center. He now empowers them and tells them you are free to develop. But based on how you develop, you must be prepared for consequences. And if you don't develop correctly, I will come in. And I will tell you there was free will, but the exercise was not right. You see, that's the Yes, Prabhu.
We are getting suffering
can we block our sufferings by using our intelligence? Because if we keep on get suffering,
Yes.
others may think he is foolish, he is not using intelligence, his intelligence like that. So, can we use our intelligence to block the suffering?
You can use your intelligence to block suffering provided your intelligence brings you to the lotus feet of Krishna. If you use intelligence to engage yourself in devotional service, then your intelligence is well used and your sufferings will gradually diminish. They will do. But if your intelligence makes you philosophize, if it makes you give all kinds of theories, then that intelligence is misused. And instead of stopping the suffering, you will widen the perimeters of the suffering. That's why speculation is not necessary. Acceptance of Krishna's laws, submissive self-inquiry, that's alright. Krishna doesn't say you can't ask questions. But after asking all the questions, you don't change your life, then obviously it's all theory. You're not interested in changing. Is that helpful? Yes, Prabhu.
If a person commits injury either physically, mentally or verbally to one person, so whether the same person has to repeat it or it can even come through any source to nullify that effect.
It can come through any source to nullify.
So can we say like once we come to the devotee satsang association, we have done lot of karma, and sometimes if some devotees abuses us, can we say that actually we have come to the satsang, so they are only the instrument to nullify those effects?
That's a good way to see it. Shastras tell us that. Shastras tell us that the moment you come into sadhu sangha, you are no longer under the external potency of Krishna. You come under the internal potency of Krishna. So when the internal potency of Krishna is acting, then whatever that the devotees give you, whether it is a bit tough, it is a bit heavy, that is coming as a blessing from Krishna. It is not coming as a painful act of the law of karma. It is not. If you want to have that point nicely done, explained, look at 10th chapter, 3rd verse of Bhagavad Gita. In the purport, Prabhupada explains this point very clearly. Very clear. He says, anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. Nice, sir? Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. So if your sadhu sangha is working under the direction of Krishna and the devotees, that sadhu sangha is actually transcendental. Then Prabhupada goes on to say, it cannot be contaminated, meaning that activity. That activity cannot be contaminated by material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. See the point? Prabhupada says our activity in sadhu sangha or our activity under the direction of Krishna cannot be affected by anything material, which is auspicious or inauspicious. It may appear like we are disturbed in a sangha, but actually the disturbance is purification. It is actually purification. It's Krishna cleaning off the dirt. That's very important. That's why after Srinavatam Swapata Krishna verse, immediately Rasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, one who is always attending the classes on Bhagavatam. That's what we are doing now. We are sitting down in Sadhu Sangha to hear Bhagavatam. Then whatever material reactions that are there, Prabhu, anything that's troublesome to the heart. Troublesome to the heart means material reactions in the heart. They go because we are with Bhagavatam and we are serving our spiritual masters who are pure devotees. And if we see, if our life is molded in such a way that except for us, everyone else is pure, then we will serve every devotee. That way, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost really destroyed. And instead of having a vacuum, what is replaced? Loving devotional service, right? Transcendental service, transcendental loving service, right? And praise of, and transcendental service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose praise in transcendental songs is established in the heart. And is established as a fact. Established as a fact. So the purport of 10.3 is very clear on this point. In Sadhu Sangha, whatever differences and challenges we face, they are always to be accepted as spiritual. If you look at 4th Canto, 30th chapter, 8th verse, in that purport, Prabhupada says the same thing. He says in our society there may be disagreements between members, but such disagreements must be taken as spiritual. They should not be taken as material. Because the objective between the two devotees having a difference is actually the same. Both devotees want to glorify Krishna. Both devotees want to please spiritual master. But your nature is different, my nature is different. You do it this way, I do it that way. That's all. Jai and Vijay wanted to stop Sanat Kumaras from entering because their job description was stop anyone from coming in. That's all they did. They did their job description perfectly. That's all. Sanat Kumara's job description was we want to come and take darshan of the Lord. Therefore, darshan should not be stopped. We are the four Sanat Kumaras. They wanted to come and see Krishna, not to lodge complaints. They wanted to come to glorify Krishna. What's the problem with that job description? That's the job description of all job descriptions, isn't it? To glorify Krishna. So both, their objective was the same. They just came from different roads and they happened to clash at one junction. We all know from yesterday's verse, Otam Protam. Whenever there's a junction, right, the cars and the drivers have to be a bit careful, especially in Indian junction. You have to be highly careful because you have to understand, you can't bend here, you have to be careful. So even in junctions where we meet devotees, there is Otam Protam. If we see Krishna there, we won't fight so much. We will give and take. Prabhu, you have your strength here. You go ahead. I'm your well-wisher. Prabhu, my strength is here. Please give me blessings. You go ahead. Do it. What's the problem? What's the problem? That's how we should do. In that way, Prabhu, your point is very nice. In Sadhu Sangha, will always be peaceful. No misdeeds. No sin, no sin. But if we don't, 1 minute, if we in Sadhu Sangha start offending devotees, Krishna will not want it. If we offend, don't have this mentality. When we criticize and offend, Krishna will not want it. Then our difficulties, the mind becomes very difficult. Then we should really tell ourselves as a devotee, it must be something I am doing that's not right in my own company. That's why even in Sadhu Sangha I am listening. Is that helpful? Archana?
I was just thinking that we are focusing too much on our interactions within the Sadhu Sangha, but only 10-15% of our lifetime is spent with Sadhu Sangha. If we are in our daily occupational duties, we interact with everyone. So I feel that we should broaden it further because for someone who is considering everything as service to Krishna, you should see everything as spiritual even outside of the devotional.
Very good point. Very practical point. Sometimes we put so much emphasis on Sadhu Sangha that it becomes a problem actually. We find fault, we try to bring the material activities with it. That's one point, that's very important. In fourth canto, 9th chapter, 11th verse, Dhruva Maharaj speaks this point. He speaks this point. If you can look at 4, 9, 11, if you have it, please see it.
Translation, Prabhu?
Translation. You have it there? No, the translation first. That's important. Please tell us the translation.
Dhruva Maharaj continued, O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally exist.
Yeah. Now can you do one thing? Let's read the purport.
Yes.
It's a very important purport. Let's hear very carefully.
The significant point in Dhruva Maharaj's statement is that he wanted the association of pure devotees.
That's one. We'll break it up. That's one. We want the association of pure devotees. Next one.
Transcendental devotional service cannot be complete and cannot be relishable without the association of devotees.
Very clear. Devotional service without association of devotees, you cannot relish. Next point.
We have therefore established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness.
That's a very important point. Sometimes we take that for granted. Sometimes we are very particular to say we are not part of this concept. Isn't it? No, I'm not part of this concept. Yes, Prabhu.
Anyone who is trying to be aloof from this Krishna Consciousness Society and yet engage in Krishna consciousness is living in a great hallucination.
That's it. Prabhupada couldn't be clearer. If you want to take the association of devotees and you think you are separate from this society, it's a hallucination.
For this is not possible.
Yes.
From the statement by Dhruva Maharaj, it is clear that unless one is associated with devotees, his devotional service does not mature.
That's the key. Maturity of devotional service is the way to become peaceful.
He does not become distinct from material activity.
That's the key of the key. If we do not accept that devotional service means in every field of life, in everything we do, then what will happen is spiritual activities will not be distinct from material activities. And we will impute material activities into spiritual programs. And we will think we are devotees, but it is all material. Yes, Prabhu.
The Lord says, Satam Prasangan Mamavirya Samvido Bhavati Duttara Rasayanam. Only in the association of pure devotees can the words of Lord Krishna be fully potent and reachable to the heart and ear. Dhruva Maharaj explicitly wanted the association of devotees. That association in devotional activities is just like the waves of an incessant flowing river. In our Krishna consciousness society, we have full engagement 24 hours a day. Every moment of our time is always busily engaged in the service of the Lord. This is called the incessant flow of devotional service. The Mayavadi philosopher may question us, you may be very happy in the association of devotees, but what is your plan for crossing the ocean of material systems? Dhruva Maharaj's answer is that it is not very difficult. He clearly says that this ocean can be crossed very easily if one simply becomes mad to hear the glories of the Lord. Bhavad Guna Katha. For anyone who persistently engages in hearing the topics of the Lord from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and who is actually addicted to this process, just as one becomes addicted to intoxicants, it is very easy to cross the nescience of material existence. The ocean of material nescience is compared to a blazing fire, but to a devotee, this blazing fire is insignificant because he is completely absorbed in devotional service. Although the material world is blazing fire, to a devotee it appears full of pleasure. Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. The purport of this statement by Dhruva Maharaj is that devotional service is the association of devotees devotional service in the association of devotees is the cause of the development of further devotional service. By devotional service only is one elevated to the transcendental planet Goloka Vrindavana, and there also there is only devotional service. For the activities of devotional service both in this world and in the spiritual world are one and the same. Devotional service does not change. The example of a mango can be given here. If one gets an unripe mango, it is still a mango, and when it is ripe, it remains the same mango, but it has become more tasteful and relishable. Similarly, there is devotional service performed according to the direction of the spiritual master and the injunctions and regulatory principles of Shastra, and there is devotional service in the spiritual world rendered directly in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they are both the same. There is no change. The difference is that one stage is unripe and the other is ripe and more relishable. It is possible to mature in devotional service only in the association of devotees.
Nothing is more clearer than this, isn't it? So we should actually be always in association of devotees. Our work is not a place of material activity. If we carry Krishna in our heart, our work, our family, everything comes under the sphere of devotional service. Otherwise, we have one foot in the material world, one foot in spiritual world, one foot in one boat, one foot in another boat. The waves are choppy, the boats go opposite direction. You end up in the water, and you end up neither in this boat nor in that. Please always remember, never take for granted the association of devotees. Never take it for granted. The day we take it for granted and we are not greedy for that association, we will be punished, not by Krishna, but by our own offenses. We should not blame devotees or anyone else. Thank you. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Sajjan Prabhu, anything from your side?
Yes, Guru.
Please.
This one, the Prabhupada writes in 170
Yes, Prabhu.
that the bull and the cow is telling, they take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the suffering, taking themselves to be in small doses, for otherwise the suffering should have been greater. This is one thing that even small dose we are not able to tolerate. So how to tolerate big? So this we think there's a small dose. But even small dose sometimes seems to be a big dose.
Yes. That's why if we it's a perception, bro. That's why the mind is the problem. The mind is a way of making small dose look like big dose. But if we take it for granted, this is a small dose, not very big, then you will convince the mind. And once the mind becomes peaceful, something that appears very big, but for you it's not very, very big. It's okay. We can accept. So the perception of the mind is very difficult. But it can only be controlled by more devotional service, mature devotional service, sadhu sangha.
No, at that point of time when they suffer,
Yes.
the dose seems to be very high.
Yeah. And
Maybe
then
after 6 months, it's less effective.
That's true. So what we have to do is reduce the time period. Instead of 6 months, we should make it 1 day. So Maharaj said that how to reduce the pain of the dose, that's the key. And the only way to reduce the pain of the dose is to increase the quality of the fabric of devotional service. The more we increase it, the time frame between pain and suffering and realization becomes shorter, 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 until it is almost instantaneous. Pain, realization, pain, realization. It becomes together. Otherwise, pain, realization. Then it's very, very difficult. I say, then the only thing you realize at that point of time that it's painful. What's the point of that realization? You're already painful for 30 days. Why you want to realize I'm in pain?
Prabhu, there is another way to reduce the dose.
Yes.
Distribute it to everyone.
That is the principle of equal distribution and mercy. I'm suffering, come, share my suffering. We can try it and see how it feels. At the most, we'll just end up beating each other.
No, that is possible only in the drunkard shop. No? One person suffering, the other person, you drink more.
Yeah,
So
people
that's
drink
it. But here he said you have been mad about Krishna.
Yes,
Addiction.
we have to be mad.
About Krishna, then this suffering is over.
If we discuss the disadvantages of wealth, accumulating wealth, Bhagavatam says you will reduce greed. If you serve a pure devotee, you will reduce pride. If you, with determination, want to stop the desires of lust, you can conquer lustful desires and envy. So in that way actually, by practical behavior, by discussions among devotees, by what Prabhu says, by spreading and sharing, Prabhu, I'm in difficulty. Yes, I'm also in difficulty. Let's help each other come out of the difficulty. That way, Bhagavatam helps us to come out. That is a very important component of association.
You told about Tamal Krishna Maharaj's example of remembering Krishna in every beat. I was just reminded of our Maharaj saying a few times that time will come when if you remember Krishna even 2-3 beats in your whole round, it can be considered as one round.
Yeah. Because there will be pure quality of devotional service. We pray for that day. We also want to pray for His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. Maharaj's health has not been so good for the last week or so. Revati Raman Prabhu and many devotees in the temple, we made announcements in Tirupati that we should pray. Whenever Vaishnavas, have to undergo some challenges of the body, it becomes our duty to chant, to pray. Maharaj is a pure devotee, so obviously he is under the internal potency of Krishna, no doubt. But it would be very good, coming from Tirupati, the message from the GBC and everyone else was that we should always pray and chant, and in that way, Maharaj's health will definitely improve. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Ananta Koni Vaishnava.